Hello and welcome to Behind Beloit. I'm Ellie Anderbyrne. This weekly talk show is an opportunity to slow down, ask questions, and introduce the people and systems that make Beloit tick. Today I'm joined by Chanel Fitch-Kirkpatrick, the Director of Water Resources in the City of Beloit. She's been with the city since last spring and has been in the water world for over a decade. Welcome, Chanel.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited. I love getting out away from the wastewater plant, away from the water world, and really interacting with the community when it comes up.
Wonderful. We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
So maybe we should just start with viewers who don't know you or know about water resources. Tell us about your role. What does your department do on a daily basis?
So I'm the Director of Water Resources, which you had just said, and we really handle everything from sourcing the water, getting it prepared to be delivered to your home, be it for treatment or the infrastructure that it takes to get there. And then once it's in your home and it goes down the drain, then we step in again. Mm-hmm. And then we take the water after you've used it and then we clean it up and then we put it right back into the environment. So it really stays in an entire loop. It's a continuous loop. Every drop of water on Earth has been recycled more times than any of us can ever count. And we really make sure that we're doing that sustainably and creating safe water to drink and then safe water that goes back to the environment.
Mm-hmm. This is something that, you know, as you describe it, yeah, it does go into my goodness is this, but it's not something most people think about on a daily basis. So what's something that happens behind the scenes that people might not think about very much, but is really important?
So, I love to say that when you don't know we exist, we're doing our job. It's when everything is quiet, when there's not a lot going on, it's because we're succeeding. Our success is radio silence. What happens on the backside that people don't really know about? I've got crews that are constantly cleaning lines, be it sewer lines, stormwater lines. Those are the lines that get clogged and can cause backups into the street, the stormwater lines specifically. We've got people that are making sure the wells that pump the water up from the groundwater are operating properly. That work takes place every single day. We're testing the water quality every single day. We are chemically treating the water according to EPA guidelines, so we have a chlorination system. Those have to be treated every single day. And that's just a little bit on the water side. We also have crews on the water side that are making sure that we're accurately reading your water inside your home. So many of the viewers have, had calls or had us inside their home, inside their basement, upgrading and updating some of that equipment. Mm-hmm. That helps us keep the billing going. But then you flush it or it goes down the drain and then my other department kicks in. And anything that you could possibly imagine that could be flushed has been flushed.
Mm-hmm. So in your department, is clean water going to houses a different sort of subdivision than dirty water leaving your house?
Absolutely. Okay. So within Water Resources, we have an environmental group and they deal primarily with industrial users, big water users, restaurants that have like those grease traps. Mm-hmm. So all of like we call it fog in the industry. So it's fats, oils, and grease. So every time you clean a pan, it goes down the drain and that grease can actually coagulate. And it's a huge reason why we have blockages in the streets. And that's a lot of reasons why most cities have sewer upsets is because of that fog. So I've got a collections crew that does just that. So we've got an environmental crew that tries to prevent that. And then I've got a collections crew, and they're the ones that have the awesome big trucks. Mm-hmm. And they're out there cameraing and cleaning the sewer lines and the storm lines to make sure that they're free of cracks, free of roots, free of blockages, so that the flow through them can get to the wastewater plant. So once the collection crew is done doing their job, then it gets to the wastewater plant. And we've got a whole crew that does that. And it all starts with my water crew. So my water crew is the first line here, and they're the ones that get that water ready to be delivered to your home. So overall, I've got 4 divisions that work underneath my umbrella of Water Resources.
So interesting. So what's the most common problem that homeowners in the city might have, and what happens when they find those?
Yeah, so besides a water main break, and so water main would be fresh water, right? Water that you can drink. The next call that we get in is for backups into the basement. And we get these all the time. And I cannot stress this enough. If it is coming into your basement, 99% of the time, it is a private home matter. There is a pipe that goes from your house out to the sewer line. That sewer line is generally going to be in the street somewhere. And that gets clogged with whatever you're flushing. And when I say whatever you're flushing, I do mean, Ellie, whatever you are flushing. That line is only so big, and it's not at a very big angle, and so things just kind of settle in there, and one flush or two flushes or even just a load of laundry is generally not enough water power to push back what you might flush.
So if there's a problem in that, the homeowner is responsible for dealing with that themselves. And then, but if it's a problem with the sewage line on the street, then that's a city fix.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, so the homeowner is responsible for their sewer line all the way out to the street.
Okay.
Right? So if there is a clog anywhere in there, the homeowner is responsible for repairing that, even if it extends into the street. That is homeowners. A big one that we see a lot of are the mature trees. Those roots will get in there. So anybody looking to plant a new tree needs to be very careful about making sure that those roots aren't going to eventually get into those pipes. So one of the biggest things that we see a lot of, and it's not even a secret anymore, is flushable wipes. So flushable wipes are flushable. They are flushable. But anybody with a toddler will tell you that there is a good number of things in your house that are actually flushable and you wouldn't want to put down the drain. So those flushable wipes are the #1 cause of private home backups.
So even though they say flushable, don't flush them.
Don't flush them. Toilet paper is not generally the cause. Thanksgiving feasts are not the cause of a backup. It is almost always flushable wipes, especially if you've got a root intrusion. So I've got something here, because they don't only cause issues, wipes don't only cause issues in your personal pipes, but they also cause issues at the wastewater plant. And so this little guy, this little wipe, and this is a travel wipe, so it's not even as strong as it could be. This little guy can actually wrap around a pump. It wraps around roots. It gets stuck in the seams of the pipes, and it causes so much damage. It causes damage to your lines, and it causes damage to our pumps. A lot of the equipment repairs that we have to do are for this guy here. So
if you use them, put them in the trash.
put them in the trash. Dental floss in the trash. Diaper wipes in the trash. Feminine hygiene products in the trash. You got it. If it did not come out of your body or used to clean you up in a dry manner, no, in the trash. So we get a lot of phone calls for people who want us to come out and jet their line. Again, if it's in your basement, it's not going to be us. That is something you want to call a plumber for. However, for those of you who are do-it-yourself, we have this little guy. This is a clog buster.
Wow.
It might just be called a bladder. This was bought at a local hardware store. This thing works fantastic to clean your sewer pipes. If you go in your basement, you should have a little clean out, and sometimes it'll be in the yard if you don't have a basement. This just hooks up to a hose, and then what it does is it fills up, and there's a little tiny hole right here, and it shoots out a really strong spray of water. These things are really cheap, and they will save you from all kinds of backups. So you don't actually have to call a plumber. For small stuff, you can start this before you get that plumber on the phone.
That's a good tip to know.
So, and as a water resources director, I do not have any wipes in my house to speak of, but I do have a bladder just in case. So, yeah.
That's good to know. So on a typical day, what kinds of problems might you encounter? What kind of decisions are you making, short-term or long-term? How do those decisions affect the city of Beloit?
We make decisions that have implications for the next 20 minutes and the next 20 years.
Wow.
So everything that we do, we have to keep in mind that we are going to be serving the community in perpetuity, meaning we're always going to be here. So we can't just make decisions that that get us through the day or get us through the week. Sometimes they do, but we always have to circle back with them. So we might have a water main break, and so the decision is, how are we going to fix that water main break? What caused the water main break? Was it old equipment? Should we have caught it? So my staff is constantly getting this question: could we have foreseen this issue? What can we do to make sure that this doesn't happen again? How did we get here? So every decision we make has to keep 20, 30, 40, and even 50 years in mind. And I'm not going to be here working for the city for that
50
long.
years, yeah.
Yeah, I won't be here in 50 years. So I have to make decisions that are going to move us forward. That's very different than a private business that is maybe working for quarterly profits. We don't operate that way. So we have, pumps that will go down. Is this pump old? Can it be rebuilt? Because it can be rebuilt for, say, $15,000, but to buy a new one might cost $30,000 or $40,000. But if we buy the new pump, then we're going to get more time out of it versus having to rebuild it. So we have to consider these things with the budget that we have. How long is this equipment going to last us? Is this going to take us forward? Are we going to be able to continue to provide water quality, high water quality to the residents? And are we going to be able to continue to provide clean water back to the environment? Everything we do, be it on the water side or the wastewater side, is driven by hygiene, cleanliness, regulation, and a high amount of ethics, right? We need to make sure that we're always doing the right thing. So we have a very strong drive to make sure that our decisions don't just meet regulation, but they exceed regulation and they exceed what the city expects of us, so that we can say in 15 or 20 years, hey, we knew that was going to happen and we already solved it for you.
It seems like an interesting and challenging and important work that you do. How did you get into it?
By accident.
Okay.
And I don't mean that I fell into wastewater by accident, literally. Although as I started as an operator apprentice, and I have to admit that, yes, I have fallen into wastewater by accident, but that's not how I got started. So I was born and raised in family restaurants.
Okay.
Anybody who's ever worked with family knows that you can only do it for so long if you want to maintain your sanity. And anybody who's ever worked in restaurants will also tell you that. So when you put a family business together that's also a restaurant, at some point you're like, I cannot do this anymore.
Time for a different
It's time,
thing.
yeah, absolutely. So I wanted something that was stable. I wanted something that I could grow with. And I didn't really know what that looked like. So I definitely wanted an environmental field. I went to school at Arizona State University. I did a study for my internship with the city of Mesa, which is where I got started. And that was my first introduction to wastewater. And I was like, this is the coolest stuff ever. And I was completely sold. Every STEM field exists in water and wastewater, all of them. You've got every type of engineering exists. All of your life sciences exist somewhere in there. Whether you're working for a municipality or you're working for private, you can do nonprofit and work overseas. The possibilities are endless, and this is a market that doesn't show up to the job fair. Like, where's water at the job fair? They're not there. So we're working on fixing that.
Would you like to come to a Beloit College career event?
Yes.
We can arrange that.
Yes, I do. I just had my first committee meeting with the GBDEC. I never get those letters right. Greater Beloit Economic Development. So I just attended their committee for education. So yes, water and public works will start having a greater greater presence there. So that is how I got started. It wasn't easy. It's a very male-dominated field. No secret there. So it was a little challenging at first, and I've loved it ever since. I don't know anybody who has left water resources for another career change and has not come right back within a year or two. We get a stronghold on people. It is endlessly interesting. There's no way you can learn anything or learn everything. And when you pull everybody together, we are just like the nerdiest people you've ever met. We love what we do so much. It's very interesting. It's sustainable. It's environmentally friendly. So we love. I'm biased, Ellie.
Well, it sounds so interesting. Like you say, chemistry matters for your water testing. Biology matters. The geology affects the type of water you have coming. I mean, all sorts of things. The engineering of it. There's all kinds of aspects.
Absolutely. Yeah, and so I have some friends of mine that are, firefighters and police, because I've been doing municipal work for a while. And I always like to tell people, when there is a national emergency and FEMA steps in, what do they want first?
Water.
They want water. And if you think that I don't love rubbing that in to all of my safety services people, I absolutely take every opportunity. It's water. They need water established before they can put anything else on the ground. So yeah, we're critical. We have to be there. We need water and we need wastewater. So.
Great. So speaking of wastewater, the city recently completed a new wastewater treatment plan. Why don't we start with where is it and why was it needed and what kinds of things does it do?
Yeah, okay, so the wastewater plant is physically located kind of at the junction of Willowbrook and Colley Roads. And anybody that's driven by there has seen a lot of construction with the Ho Chunk Casino, so we're neighbors. Yeah, so that's kind of fun. So the wastewater plant did not get a full upgrade and makeover. What we focused on was the way that we handle the solids part of what you flush. We call that biosolids, right? That's the industry term. So when you flush, 99% of that is water. 1%, actually less than 1%, is some type of a solid material. I hope that it's not wipes. It should just be toilet paper and bowel movements. But we do get occasional wedding rings, money, Matchbox cars. You guys can keep sending those, but we're not really like filtering for them. So just like what's the best way to put this? So we have a duty. That was a good joke. All right, that was pretty good. So that was not intended. So we have an obligation to the environment as well as to the residents to make sure that we're creating a clean product that's not going to cause any harm to, life or nature. Part of that product is a biosolid, and the way that we treat it matters. Part of the problem that we're running into is disposing of a biosolids. It's very good fertilizer. By the time it comes through our process and we break it down and it goes through, we mimic Mother Nature's processes. When it goes through that process, what we get is a very mineral and nutrient rich fertilizer, just like what you're buying from the dairy farms, right? We produce that as well. So we can put it on farms with some restrictions depending on how we process it, or we can just take it to the landfill. Landfills are also having their own crisis where they are filling up too fast, and the environmental regulation for landfills is putting pressure on the wastewater plants. So we have to work with them. And the more we can produce a product that keeps it out of the landfill and is environmentally friendly, the better for everybody, the better for the residents, because then it drives the cost down. So with all of that explanation, the major part of this project was to upgrade and improve the way we handle biosolids. We are running out of farmland that we could put it at, so we needed to condense it and create biosolids have a lot of water in them.
So how are we running out of farmland in Wisconsin?
Development.
Okay.
Yeah, so simple development. And it's not just Wisconsin. It's a pretty widespread issue.
Is there a market for this? Like, there are people who like buy and sell biosolids and get them into the farmer's hands, or how do you get it from the plant onto a farm? Like, what's the steps in there?
Ellie, there's a market for everything.
I mean, whoa, tell me about it.
There is literally a market
I believe
for
it.
everything. Part of our problem is that we're on the border, so we can't go into Illinois.
Okay.
Right? So we're already halved the amount of farmland that we can go to.
Okay.
So right then and there, we're already out. If you go down Gateway Boulevard, you're already seeing some development go through there. So that's just a perfect example. This area is not developing as fast as some other parts of the country are, but we are still developing. But it could also be that, farmers might just decide that they're done, right? So there could be a little bit of that. So there's plenty of reasons why we would start to run out of farm fields to lay it down. Part of that problem also can run into environmental regulation. So as we find new chemicals, so new forever chemicals, that's a big one right now in the news for the PFAS and the PFOAs. That accumulates and it can show up in biosolids. So everything that you flush, right, when you wash, it all goes down the drain. When you wash your clothes, it all goes down the drain. That collects at the wastewater plant. So some farmers, and it hasn't happened in our area yet, but this happened back home, some farmers are electing to not use them anymore because of the fear of some of the things like the biochemicals. Microplastics was another one that they had to fight, that they had to deal with because of little itty bitty microbeads. They were showing up in their farm. So some farms are just not allowing it. So those would be some areas. So what we have is, it's called a dryer. And there's a lot of ways you can process the solids. The dryer takes this product that is generally about 97% water, and it flips the script and it makes it 97% solids. That means it's easier to transport. If we do have to go to the landfill, we can get 5, 6, and even 10 loads equivalent of what we used to do, so it drives the cost down. But because of the way that we're treating it, it allows us to sell it to farmers who are growing food crops. Not all biosolids can be used on food crops. You can use it for, fibers. You can use it. There's a lot of things you can.
Animal feed or something else.
Yeah. Okay. But now we can sell it for food crops. So that gives us more farmers that we can work with. It makes it more lucrative for them to work with it as well, because then we don't have to use as much of it because it's a lot more concentrated. And if we needed to, we could always take it to a landfill, and the cost is decreased by anywhere from 4 to even 20% compared to how we were handling it in the past. So that spells significant cost savings. Now the dryer's a lot of money, but we have to do something with our biosolids. So we have a very expensive system, but it works in a small space versus a composting, which needs a lot of space and a lot of manpower. So that was why we elected for the dryer, to give us a product that we can more easily market to all types of farming operations, and it fits within the footprint of the land that we have.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you for joining us
Ellie.
today, Chanel. We've been joined by Chanel Fitch Kirkpatrick, the Director of Water Resources in the City of Beloit. Joining us today is Matt Laszlo. An alum of Beloit College, Matt now gives back as the voice of the Beloit Buccaneers. Between now and then, Matt has succeeded as a Senior Vice President and Chief Customer Officer with Clorox. Welcome, Matt.
Hey, thanks, Elle. It's great to be here.
Thanks. So let's hear a bit about what does it mean to be the voice of the Beloit College Buccaneers? What do you do?
Well, I would not call myself that. I'd say, to me, it's broadcasting some of the various colleges' teams and their games. And for me, that's primarily football, baseball, and this year I've done a little bit of hockey, and I've done basketball. So it's doing the live stream, which you can find on the Beloit athletics website. You'll see links to each game, and all the schools do that. So I'll be the voice behind that goes with the video stream.
So you're actually sitting there at the games watching and talking as it goes along? You
bet. And depending on where it is, it's either the press box at Strong Stadium, or it's like right beside the rink in Janesville for hockey, or at a table behind home plate. Thankfully, there's a screen down at the stadium as well for baseball. So it can be anywhere in different types of situations.
How much work does it take to prepare for that in advance, and how much is it just on the fly as you go?
Well, clearly, I should tell you it's a ton of work and countless hours. But I do prepare for everything, and primarily it's about learning the other team, like who's the visiting school. Make sure and this is hard, but make sure I get the pronunciations right, knowing a little bit about their background and their stats, so that I can at least drop some of that in. Understanding, if both our teams have played before, those types of details, so that I can weave those into the storytelling as the game's going on. So, it's more about learning the other team, because I tend to, before the season starts, memorize everyone on our team. And in a lot of cases, I already know them because I've seen them on campus, or they've been in my class.
So how do you actually know how to pronounce the other team's names? How do you find that out?
Well, often the sports information director will give like a phonetic pronunciation, and so that helps. And that would be from the other school, clearly. And so that will help me for sure. But there are times where it's been amusing over the years where there's a typo, or I'm still not getting it right. And I've had parents from the other team come up in baseball and just show me their phone and say, this is how you pronounce it. So they actually will tell me, which to me is one of the delightful things about this, is you get interaction while you're doing the broadcast in sort of like really bizarre, non-traditional ways.
Interesting. So that means that the parents who are sitting in the stands at the game are also following along on the live stream?
Maybe, but it's more this. Their extended family members who are not at the game are then probably texting family that's at the game and saying, he keeps saying it this way. And then they come up. It doesn't happen often. But yes, I will often get a lot of feedback in different ways from both sides in the middle of a broadcast, and certainly after, based on who was there and who wasn't, and then they're all just sharing with each other.
I guess it'd be kind of encouraging to know people are listening.
Yeah, it is. It's certainly, I want to make sure they have a good experience. And I've been fortunate. I've never had anyone reach out and be like, I don't appreciate it. No one's ever said anything negative, but it could be that they just have chosen not to. But generally speaking, people are really gracious and appreciative of the style and the effort, which it's very meaningful. It's really nice. And I do think about it because they're family members, and whether it's for Beloit College or the opponent, they're trying to honor their loved ones' like commitment to something that takes a lot of their time, a lot of their energy. And so I want to celebrate that. Obviously, I would like Beloit to win. But at the same time, I want to make sure that those listening from the other school feel like, don't feel disparaged, and also feel like, hey, thank you, you made this enjoyable, and I had a good time watching it. Generally speaking, I think I do a pretty good job with it.
That's wonderful to hear. Who would you say that the live stream's for? Who listens to it most? Is it families? Are there others?
Yeah, I'd say to me the target for it, and who I think about, would be the family and friends who have a player who's in the game. And whether they're playing or, honestly, whether they're on the bench, I'll try and talk about people. But they're first because they would make the most sense that they're tuning in. Secondarily, I think about the players themselves. I'm pretty confident that, all the teams here and probably anywhere have someone on point for social media. So they'll cut up highlights. And so I want to give them something they can be proud of. And so the players may go back and watch, especially if they know it was a moment they did well in, and having something that then adds to their story that they want to post, or even just a memento, like having that call over the top of it, I think just adds to if I do it well, it adds to the memory. So I think about those primarily. And then I kind of divide that into, there's the Beloit College side. To a lesser degree, we'll get alumni. And then you'll get alumni on the opponent side too, because I've had them reach out to me before. So
they used to play baseball, and then
yes,
they
I've had
tune in to
people
watch the
who
baseball game.
played against
Yep.
me back in the day,
Okay.
and they will reach out, and that is always an amazing exchange, because we wind up through text or talking, just reminiscing about stuff from 30 years ago. So that's what I've learned in terms of who's listening. And so I try to cater it towards those audiences, which is not necessarily about incredible deep insight into the game and strategy or even statistics. It's more the storytelling and trying to entertain so that people feel like this was a delightful experience, as opposed to you were incredibly precise and accurate from knowing the game or your acumen. I certainly have that with like a baseball. With all the other sports, not as much, but I sort of let myself off the hook and go, that's not what people are listening for, is for someone to give them deep analysis into what the game is. What they want is to hear their loved ones called out, and they also want to enjoy something that at this level is not like the most ornate television production. It's one camera, it's not a great visual experience, it's okay. So adding over the top, it sort of takes me back to times of old radio, which is how can I paint a picture for them and have them feel like that whether they're watching it or not, they're like, I feel like I'm there.
Yeah. Well, and that's really what you can offer when people are accustomed to ESPN with, 100 different cameras pointing at all different angles and this and that.
In the middle of it, right?
Right. College baseball is not going to have that at Division
III.
III.
No one's doing that. So then it's almost
what can you offer?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's really nice. Is it usually just you there talking, or do you have other people join you?
I usually will be the consistent kind of backbone of the broadcast, but I bring tons of people on and love it. And that is everything, Ellie, from organized guests. It could be alumni who are there. It is definitely students. Typically you play other sports, but sometimes who don't play sports at all. I've had faculty on with me before. And I've had Eric Boynton is a regular, the president of the college. We talk, he comes and just grabs a headset and we don't even plan it. And then he'll stick around. Hall of Honor inductees for Beloit College, when they come back at homecoming, Eric will typically bring them up and then I'll just interview them on the air. So it's all over the place and I never know what's going to happen. I once had a former major league umpire on with me as well, and that was amazing, hearing his stories and then his analysis. So there's no telling who will be on, but probably to me one of my favorite things is sometimes family that's there at the game physically, and this typically happens in baseball, but it's happened in hockey too. They don't realize I'm on the air, and they will come up in the middle of the broadcast and just start talking to me and go, "You're the broadcaster, right?" And then they'll tell me what they think. And so I'm getting feedback on the air. And so people listening are hearing this parent or whoever talk to me. And I like that because I just sort of improv with them and then have a conversation, which is completely ridiculous because there's a game going on. But meanwhile, there's a parent telling me about their situation. I'm calling the game. So those things aren't planned, but I think they're fun to roll with. And to me, they make the broadcast a little more memorable and more authentically us.
That's great to hear. So thinking back to your own time, you were a Beloit College alum yourself and a Beloit College student athlete yourself. Take us back to that time. What brought a kid from Georgia to Beloit College, and how did you find your way to the college and to your athletic teams?
I knew I wanted to go somewhere outside the South for a different experience. I also knew I wanted to play two sports, football and baseball, and I wanted to have a life outside of sports too. I'm not sure if I would have played Division I. I was recruited for that, but I wouldn't have played two sports. I doubt I would have started all 4 years in both. I certainly wouldn't have had the level of success that I did coming here. But I wanted more balance. And so Beloit, my visit here was just magical, and I felt like this will be home, and it certainly was and continues to be. And so I was fortunate. I started on both teams right away and had a pretty high level of success from freshman year on. And those things really, I think, were formative for me in terms of my approach towards leadership, how I handle conflict, how I push myself, challenge myself, how I just be a better all-around person. So those are probably my most fond memories of being a student here.
That's wonderful to hear. At what point in your life did your interests change from being on the field, from playing, to doing this broadcasting kind of thing, and what happened in the middle?
Yeah, I don't know that I'd even say it changed. I always loved voices, and growing up I loved watching sports. I loved playing sports too, but I enjoyed the broadcast as much as I did playing. And so while I was a student here, between football and baseball season, I broadcast men's and women's basketball for 4 years. And that was on WBCR, so the signal went to basically the edge of campus. And but that's where I first got my taste of doing a broadcast, because no one was doing it at the time. And I just loved the improvisation, the storytelling, the challenge of trying to keep up with the action and be entertaining and informative. So I'd say that's always been in me. Being here, I got a chance to formally do it, if you can call that formal. And
the most formal that anyone was doing it at the time.
And then I say after college, playing sports recreationally, I found myself, I was broadcasting the game while I was playing it. So I like doing that too, just because it felt fun. So now I see my biggest motivation is I love the students here, and I want to honor their commitment and how hard they work. And so hopefully giving them a little something more is really fulfilling to me. So I'll say it's less about the challenge of doing the broadcast and more about, can I give them something that makes them smile, that makes them feel good, and their family as well. That's what probably makes the most difference to me now.
You've had a long career in sales, including leading global sales teams for a large company people have heard of. How did that professional experience sharpen your communication skills, your other things that help you today in this kind of role?
Yeah, probably, most notably the last place I was at was Clorox, and I had 1,100 people around the world, and they're looking to me for leadership and what I want them to go do. And one of the things that helped me is years in the corporate world, most people say things a certain way, and they all kind of use corporate-y words, and there's not a lot of heart or emotion or feeling to it. And I found it's just sort of noise. So what I pushed myself to try and do is, how can I be, knowing that there are all sorts of things going on and you can't necessarily share everything all the time, how can I push myself to be vulnerable, authentic, creative, informative, inspiring, entertaining in the way I write or the way I speak? And so I borrowed actually from my sports experience. I think we've all seen sports movies or clips where someone gives an emotional speech to the team. And I realized in my work career, that never happens. So but what if it did? What if I could bring that in? And so before Clorox, I came up with an idea of could I bring theatrics and performance into presenting in a work environment? And so I played around with it a lot, and it's worked out quite well. So at Clorox in particular, I really did a lot where it was more about entertainment and information, trying to inspire. And often I'd do things in character, or I would tell stories. I'd use humor a lot, whether it's writing or speaking, and it was just very different than what people typically do. Is one, people are nervous. I don't want to look stupid. I don't want to try and be funny, and it's not.
That's a lot of people's greatest fear.
Yes,
right?
and public speaking. That and spiders, I hear, Ellie, but we can fact check that.
Yeah.
But my thought, I guess, was just what would I want to hear? How would I want to feel? And then the other thing that would typically reassure me is everybody in this audience has sat through thousands and thousands of hours of boring meetings. I'm not saying they weren't paying attention, but they certainly were I can't wait till I get through this. So I would often just bolster my own confidence by saying, all right, let me push the envelope a little bit, do something different, because they'll remember what I was trying to say. And I've been fortunate. I've never done anything that bombed, and people tended to be pretty appreciative. And I think part of that is, people are starving, and you give them something that's edible. They love it, and I think I was better than edible at times. But at the same time, it was a low bar to entertain. So I push myself to do that, and I do that even now with my classes.
Yeah, that's interesting. So Beloit College has an executive in residence program where students experience the expertise of a person who has a long and esteemed career in business in different ways, and you served as one of the very first executives in residence at Beloit College.
True. Yes.
Can you talk about that a bit? What it was like to come back to teaching, and how does that also tie to your work as a play-by-play announcer for Beloit College Buccaneers?
Oh, yeah. Well, I left Clorox because I wanted to start my own effort really in executive coaching and consulting. I loved helping people be the best version of themselves, a more authentic leader, more inspiring, just more compelling in general. And I liked what I was doing at Clorox, but I realized I have all these other responsibilities, and I wanted to do something different with my life. Not long after that, I had come back once to Beloit while I was still at Clorox, and I guest lectured at a class. I think gave a talk, a couple other talks. And so I guess it instilled enough confidence in the college to say, could you come back and be this new thing called executive in residence in 2020? And I thought it would be an amazing challenge. I knew how to give a presentation to professional groups and get their interest and excitement. I knew I could do that well, but I thought, okay, college students, 13 weeks of keeping their attention and interest. I'm like, this is going to be hard.
Yeah.
So I thought, what a cool challenge. And I never taught a class. So I thought this will be a fun challenge and see, have I got what it takes to perhaps be okay at this? So it inspired me to give it a try with the first class I ever created. And then I think since then now I have 3 different ones and a couple in the marketing field. I'll say, how has it helped me with the broadcast? I'm constantly practicing, Ellie. So every day I go to class after this, and I view it, and this will seem a little bit over the top, as it's interactive, improv, comedy, education, every class, except when they have a test. But then, so I'm always interacting and trying to roll with the punches. I'm trying to get them engaged and do things that surprise them, delight them, maybe shock them a little bit in a friendly sort of way. And those things then I take over into when I have the headset on, if I'm calling a game, it's like, all right, let me go with this. Let me see something, and instead of just reject it and try and keep it all about balls and strikes or first downs, it's like, okay, let me roll with something that has nothing to do with the game, but that kind of is weird or funny or different or unexpected, that maybe makes the listening audience go, wait, what? And then wakes them up in a different way, which is the same thing in the class. And then it's also helped because I love meeting with students outside of class. I pay a ton of attention to the athletes in my class and what they're doing and how they're doing, how they do in the last game, an upcoming game, and trying to pump them up. All those things just kind of help my investment, so then when it's the broadcast, I feel more passionate.
That makes sense. So if someone was listening today and got excited about this kind of broadcasting, how would they tune in?
Go to the Beloit College website, click on athletics, pick the team that you're interested in if there's a specific game, and you'll see links based on the schedule that say, watch live. And then that will lead you to a page where you have, you can start playing the live stream. They typically start 10, 20 minutes before the game starts. So that would be the way to do it, and you watch it. You can watch it on your phone, you can watch it on the computer, whatever it is that's easy for you. So that makes it fairly simple. Yeah.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us today,
Oh,
Matt.
yeah, absolutely.
This is super fun to hear about.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity.
You're welcome. We've been joined by Matt Laszlo, the voice of Beloit College Buccaneers, who's been live streaming athletic events at the college. Tune in.